Open Box 1 to retrieve the manual. You can choose to label the parts with a sticky note. Set aside the other contents in Box 1 as we will need them when we assemble the main cabinet. Open Box 4 to retrieve the Caddy parts and Caddy hardware pack. You can choose to label the parts with a sticky note. Open the Caddy's hardware box and inventory the parts to make sure everything is present. It is important to build the Outback Caddy first. This will help when we install the lifter into the main cabinet. Attach the casters onto panel G1 using the enclosed Allen wrench and 16 8x16 fix bolts, locking casters on the front and non-locking casters on the back. To determine the front of the panel, the measurement from the bolt inset to the edge of the panel is about 6 centimeters. Flip over panel G1 and attach 4 C1 cam bolts. You can choose to dip your cam bolts in WD-40 or spray a small amount into each inset to help the cam bolts attach more smoothly. Insert 4 wood dowels into the edges of panel D1. Attach 2 C1 cam bolts into panel Z1. Insert 4 wood dowels into the edges of panel Z1. Use a mallet to tap the dowels into the edges as far as they will go. Attach 2 C1 cam bolts into panel X1. Insert 4 wood dowels into the edges of panel X1. Attach panel Z1 to panel D1 by inserting the cam bolts into the edges of panel D1. Attach panel X1 to panel D1 by inserting the cam bolts into the edges of panel D1. Turn the cam locks clockwise 180 degrees to secure the panels. Apply 4 C2 cam covers to cover the cam locks. Attach panels X1, D1, Z1 to panel G1 by inserting the cam bolts on G1 into the edges of panels X1, D1, and Z1. Make sure the locking casters are at the front of the Caddy before attaching the sides and back. Attach 4 cam bolts to the top panel, A4. Attach the top panel onto the cabinet shell by inserting the cam bolts on panel A4 into the edges of panels X1, D1, and Z1. The leaf should be on the right side of the Caddy when facing it. Secure the top panel onto the shell by turning the cam locks clockwise 180 degrees. Apply 4 C2 cam covers. Attach panel K3 to panel K1 and K2 using 4 3.5 by 35 screws. Slide in panel L4 into the grooves on panels K1, K2, and K3. Attach panel L3 to panel L1 and L2 using 4 3.5 by 35 screws for the first small drawer. Slide in panel L4 into the grooves on panels L1, L2, and L3. Attach panel L3 to panel L1 and L2 using 4 3.5 by 35 screws. Slide in panel L4 into the grooves on panels L1, L2, and L3. Attach 4 C1 cam bolts onto panel K. Attach 4 C1 cam bolts onto each panel L. Insert the cam bolts on panel L into the holes in the edges of panels L1 and L2. Insert the cam bolts on panel K into the holes in the edges of panels K1 and K2. Insert the cam bolts on panel L into the holes in the edges of panels L1 and L2. Secure the panels by turning the cam locks clockwise 180 degrees. Apply 12 C2 cam covers to cover each of the cam locks. Installing the drawers. Make sure the casters on your caddy are locked. Extend the bottom two soft close rails on the inside of the caddy, ensuring that the metal insets on the rails are positioned all the way to the front. Slide the bottom drawer rails into each soft close rail and gently guide the drawer into the cabinet. You'll hear a click. Firmly push the drawer in. To activate the soft close mechanism, pull the drawer out and then close the drawer normally. Attach the H1 handles onto the O3 panels using the included bolts. Tighten using a Phillips head screwdriver. Insert the 8x80 wooden dowels into the holes on each O3 panel. The caddy is now assembled. Open the remaining packages and ensure all parts are present. You can choose to label the parts with a sticky note. Attach the casters to panel G with 20 8x16 fixed bolts using the enclosed Allen wrench. Lock the casters. Flip panel G over and attach 10 C1 cam bolts. You can choose to lubricate the metal insets with WD-40 or spray a little WD-40 into a disposable cup to dip the ends of the cam bolts before installing into the panel. Set panel G aside. Insert 4 wood dowels into the edges of panel X. Tap them in using a rubber mallet as far as they will go. Attach 2 C1 cam bolts to panel X. Insert 4 wood dowels into the edges of panel Z. Attach 2 C1 cam bolts to panel Z. Set panel X and Z aside. Insert 12 wood dowels into the edges of panel D. Tap them in using a rubber mallet as far as they will go. Make sure you put the dowels into the correct holes, not the ones with the cam lock. Attach 2 C1 cam bolts to panel D. Locate the lifter rails from the lift box. Insert 6 wood dowels into the edges of panel Y. Tap them in using a rubber mallet as far as they will go. Attach the left lift rail onto panel Y using 3 S1 3.5 by 14 screws. Attach the right lift rail onto panel Z using 3 3.5 by 14 screws. Assembling the cabinet shell. Position panel D upside down so that the cord cap is in the top left corner, and the 2 cam bolts on panel D are on the inside of the cabinet. Attach panel Z on the left side of panel D by inserting the cam bolts on panel Z into the holes on the edge of panel D. Secure the panels by turning the cam locks clockwise. Attach panel X on the right side of panel D by inserting the cam bolts on panel X into the holes in the edge of panel D. Secure the panels by turning the cam locks clockwise. Attach panel Y to panel D. Secure the panels by turning the cam locks clockwise. Apply 6 C2 cam covers over the cam locks. Attach panel G by inserting the cam bolts on panel G into the holes on panels X, Y, D, and Z. Secure the panels by turning the cam locks clockwise. Apply 10 C2 cam covers over the cam locks. Make sure the casters on panel G are locked and flip the cabinet over onto its wheels. You may need a friend to help you, but it is not required. Insert the caddy into the left side of the cabinet by lifting the leaf panel and guiding the rollers on each end into the grooves on the inside of the cabinet on panel X and Y. Don't forget about how great ergonomics can enhance your sewing sessions. The Aero hydraulic sewing chair is the most comfortable chair, and it allows you to sew for hours without end. It's the #1 rated sewing chair in America. Watch this video to get more information. For information about installing your hydraulic lift, we have provided a short video above. You can also access it in the description below. Attach 10 cam bolts to panel A. Attach metal support bar to panel A using 5 S6 size screws. Attach lock plate to panel A using 2 S1 size screws. Lower panel A onto panels X, D, Y, and Z. Tighten 10 cam locks and apply cam covers. Install 2 H1 butt hinges using 6 S1 size screws. Insert T1 caster into caster brackets and tighten with wrench. Screw in S5 alignment pin. Attach M magnet plate using 2 S2 screws. Set the magnets aside for later. Install 2 H1 butt hinges using 6 S1 size screws. Insert T1 caster into caster brackets and tighten with wrench. Screw in S5 alignment pin. Attach M magnet plate using 2 S2 screws. Set the magnets aside for later. Attach panel O1 and O2 to panel D using 6 S1 3.5 by 14 screws. The gate leg panels will fold in towards the outside of the cabinet. You can use styrofoam from the packaging to help support the gate legs as you screw them into panel D. Attach 3 H1 butt hinges to panel A1 using 9 S1 3.5 by 14 screws. Attach the 2 magnets to panel A1 using 2 S1 screws for each magnet. The exposed metal part on the magnet will face the edges of the panel. With the O1 and O2 panels extended, lay the A1 panel over and align the hinges to the holes in the underside of the top panel A. Attach the H1 butt hinges on panel A1 to the underside of panel A using 9 S1 3.5 by 14 screws. Attach 3 H2 flush hinges to panel V1 using 6 S2 3x14 screws. Attach the door hook to panel V1. You will need a mallet to tap the door hook into place. Attach the door plates to panel V1 using 4 S2 screws. Attach the caster to panel V1 using the enclosed wrench. Attach 3 H2 flush hinges to panel V2 using 6 S2 3x14 screws. Attach the 6 accessory hooks to panel V2 using 12 S2 screws. Install the lock mechanism using 4 S4 3.5x20 screws. Press firmly to secure the lock ring into the lock mechanism from the opposite side of the panel. Attach the door hook to panel V2. You will need a mallet to tap the door hook into place. Attach the caster to panel V2 using the enclosed wrench. Attach the V1 door panel to the X panel using 6 S2 3x14 screws. You can use styrofoam from the packaging or your foot to help support the door panel as you screw the hinges on. Attach the V2 door panel to the Z panel using 6 S2 screws. Attach the H handle to panel V1 using 2 B2 4x20 fixed bolts. Attach the H handle to panel V2 using 2 B2 4x20 fixed bolts. Attach the 4 clear bumper stickers to the edges of the leaf panels B and C. The caddy should always be secured to the main cabinet, either by the roller grooves or by the notches in the left door panel. This is to prevent the caddy from tipping during use. Make sure you turn the J hooks out when you are closing your cabinet. The cabinet is assembled. Happy sewing!